When we last left off, Vanitas and Jeanne were trying to save Chloe, and Jean-Jacques and Noé was fighting Astolfo, and things are getting quite interesting. Hey, it's Romania Black. We're on episode 19 of the Case Today Vanitas, and I have sat down this evening with my cup of warm beverage, which is a terrible idea because it's scorching hot outside, but I had to work today, and this is what I wore to work, and I was like, well, it's blue, it's red, it's gold, it seems like it fits everything, so... Yeah, we last left off the episode, Jean and Vanitas working together. He got his book back, trying to take care of the Malnaman that has corrupted Chloe. And Jean-Jacques, my heart, that boy, so sweet. I loved his declaration of love to Chloe. It was peak romance. I was living for it. I was like, it watered my skin, the crops, cleared my skin, watered my crops. It was wonderful. I absolutely loved it. So I'm interested to know what's going to happen now. I'm assuming that it's episode 19, so we'd be rounding out maybe the end of this arc in this episode, and that leaves us with 20, 21, 22, 23, and 24, 5 episodes left, which is fitting for a final arc. You've got 5 episodes, but 5 episodes does not seem like enough time to finish everything, which is probably why you all want me to read the manga. I've had this soul searching, because here's my problem. My schedule is packed. I'm watching way too many shows, honestly, but I'm committed, and my thing is when I commit to a show, I'm going to finish it. I'm not going to... I know a lot of reactors will start a show, drop it, and get back to it in 6 months. I can't do that, or I will never get back to it. It's like that with fan fiction. There are so many fanfics out there that I've started and never finished because I just dropped off and started something else. I can't do it. If I dropped off a series, I'll never pick it back up. So I need to finish the shows I'm working on. I would like to get down to 7 shows. That'd be great. That'd be wonderful. And hopefully by this fall, we'll get down to that. But with that being said, I do want to read the manga. I do. But it's going to just depend on scheduling. I don't want to be doing 3 manga at once. That's just, it's too much. Kuroko's and Attack on Titan are enough right now. So I'm going to be hopefully seeing how it times out. I do want to read the manga. I do want to react to it. But I'm trying to figure out the schedule. So if it doesn't happen immediately after finishing this anime, that doesn't mean it's not going to happen. It's just I need to free up some time. So just be patient with me. I will get to it, yes. And I would like to do a manga review and do the manga leading up to where they are now after I finish the anime. But I need to do some scheduling and figure out some things. So... That's what I'm working on. So I'm not saying no. I know the last couple weeks I've been I don't know if I want to do the manga or not. I'm leaning more towards it because I'm starting to see that I don't think they're going to finish the arc like it should be. I think you're going to want to read the manga afterwards, but I don't want to know anything. So just be patient with me, please. I'll figure it out. But I do have a couple comments real quick. Geen noted that the subtitles were changed or left out of episode 17. They've done that before, and I don't know what Crunchyroll's deal is, but in episode 17, the Red Moon Vampire talks about being the first curse bearer. And I'm like, are they patient 0? So it's interesting. The Red Moon Vampire being Nania, and that being the name for Faustina, being the Malnaman name for her, I'm like, so... why did the Red Moon Vampire become a curse bearer to begin with? Was it because of the Blue Moon Vampire? Did they turn them into a curse bearer from the start? Has it always been a battle between them? I feel like there's so much history we just don't know yet, and that the manga and anime hasn't chose to reveal yet, and so we just have to figure out if they're going to tell us. But that's interesting, right? Was, Nania patient 0? What was the deal? And then Lucas Brothers VA. Here's the thing. I grew up with Bleach. I watched Bleach for years, but I watched the English dub. I didn't even know about the Japanese sub for Bleach until I was in college. And I was like, oh yeah, of course. And then Naruto was the same way. I watched the English dub for Naruto. I never watched the Japanese sub. It's just, if you were in America as a kid, you could maybe find the subs for anime if you scoured online good enough and went to some broke sites. But if you were just watching TV, you were getting the English dub, which they're both really good. But I didn't realize that Sasuke from Naruto and Ishida from Bleach had the same voice actor. That guy was making... Not only was that guy making bank during the heyday of the big 3, but can you imagine his vocal cords? How much he had to voice acting tweak? What the fudge? But apparently, my point is, he's the voice actor, according to KA, for Luca's brother in there. And so I thought that was pretty cool. I was like, nice. nice. He kind of has like an edginess to him like Sasuke. So I'm not getting Ishida vibes from Luca's brother. I'm getting Sasuke vibes for sure. I can see that. But yeah, so I'm excited for this episode, y'all. I can't wait to dive in and see what we get. But I want to give a very quick shout out over to Patreon to thank patrons for being so kind this month and being so generous and supporting me. I honestly couldn't keep doing this without you all, so I really, really appreciate it. But thank you so much to these philanthropy tier members, to Anime Annie, to Tyrone, to Eric, to Sunspots, to Translucent Men, to Legatus, to Goob, to Anna, to Matthew Palfenier, to Argent, to Nameless Monster, to Shimoyama, to Alex Cornejo, Be Happy, Kiri, as well as Edgar and Dana. Thank you all so much. I greatly appreciate your support. All of my love. So yeah, I'm really excited to see what we get this episode. It's been about a week since I've watched Vanitas because I've had other things I needed to catch up on. School has started again, so my schedule is not as free as it once was, but that's okay. So I'm excited to see what all we get this episode. I'm curious if we're going to end it or if we're going to extend it even further. Maybe we stay here for the rest of the season. Maybe we don't even get to Ruthven. Maybe that's why they want me to read the manga. But we'll find out here. And we're going to watch episode 19 of the case study of Vanitas. And we're going to do that here in 3, 2, 1. And let's do this, y'all. Well, look at that. Y'all made me a shipper of Jean and Vanitas. Okay, fine. Here's the thing. Y'all gotta have faith in me, right? Y'all gotta have faith. Because way in the earlier, it has been a struggle to be a shipper with this show. Because there's been people on Twitter that have come after me being like, oh, you can't ship Noé and Vanitas, it's Jean and Vanitas only. And I'm like, whoa now. And then there's been people being like, well, you'll really love to ship Jean and Vanitas if you just keep watching. I'm like, quit spoiling. So I'm like, my big thing is like, just have faith in the person watching the show, because I am the first person to admit, like, if I'm wrong about something, I will tell you. I'll be like, yep, I was wrong about that. No shame. And I'm the type of person too that I am not afraid to change my mind. Like once I, buckle down on something, it's not that I'm going to stick with it forever. I am very open to changing my mind. And I wanted to have more context with Vanitas and Jean, because my thing with them was like from the very start, like Noé and Vanitas have really good chemistry, but there is a distinction now. There's a line drawn, and I think Vanitas is suspect that something's up with Noé, so there's a little bit of distance created there, right? But I mean, why can't we have an OT3? Why can't we ship them all three together, right? Ménage à trois. Why not? But my thing is that with Jean and Vanitas, when he first was trolling her and was like getting onto her and stuff, I feel like Vanitas was being kind and being kind of self-sacrificial and being like, oh, I'll, don't drink anybody else's blood, don't hurt anybody else, hurt me instead, being kind of masochistic about it and saying, why don't you just hurt me instead, and that way nobody else gets hurt. And my thing was, when people were shipping them back then, was that there wasn't really that connection made. Like, she didn't really care for him. He just seemed to like be using her to like so that she doesn't hurt anybody else. And then it was the fact that she was like, well, I'm going to get him to like admit that I'm going to say that I love him, and then he'll throw me away. And he was like, I don't want anybody to love me. Vanitas, let me put him up here. Vanitas has been this entire series very emotionally closed off. And he doesn't want anyone close to him. And we're going to touch base on that at the end of this episode with what the Blue Moon Vampire says. But he doesn't want anybody close. He doesn't want anybody emotionally. He doesn't want to be vulnerable, right? He almost views it as weakness. He views it as a weakness if he's seen as vulnerable, and he doesn't want that. He doesn't want anybody to dote on him. He doesn't want to be seeming like he's pitiful or in a state where he needs help, right? That this Vanitas doesn't want to be seen like that. Which is interesting because the Blue Moon Vampire, we'll go back to that. The Blue Moon Vamp, which Romy Park does such a good job voicing them. Like Romy Park voicing the Blue Moon Vampire, there's this softness. And it sounds very innocent almost in the episode. The voice sounds innocent, like a mentor, but you know that this vampire is very dangerous. So it's interesting to see that contrast there, right? which is probably why Vanitas has trust issues. Because the Blue Moon Vampire sounds like the most innocent, nicest person in the world, and yet you know that they're a killer. So it's like, okay, no wonder Vanitas has trust issues. But the Blue Moon Vampire says that all people are lonely. All people are lonely. It's not just vampires, it's not just humans. Everyone is lonely in some way, shape, or form. And all seek some form of comfort and company. And that doesn't have to be sexual. Doesn't have to be at all. It's just, it can be platonic, it can be whatever, but they seek a warmth from that. Because Vanitas was talking about how he was cold, right? He was cold there after the snow had all melted. And it has something to do with his arm, right? So the blue mark is spreading. Now, the thing that's weird about that is the blue mark is spreading, and it didn't dawn on me earlier on in the series, but I'm like, has it been spreading this whole time? Because he keeps it hidden all the time, so we can't see it. So I'm like, has it been spreading the entire time? We just not have been knowing about it? Does it spread whenever he uses the book? And that's what causes it to spread? Like, what is the deal? And is it just a Blue Moon Vampire only thing? Because he has the mark from Jean, but it doesn't seem to spread. So is it just the Blue Moon Vampire's mark that spreads? And what does that mean? What does that mean? Vanitas has always had this, like, air about him, like he doesn't have a lot of time on this earth, and like he's trying to just do what he wants to while he's still alive. I'm like, is this Blue Moon Vampire thing a curse and he's gonna die anyway? And Noé just thinks that he causes it? I don't like where this is headed. This episode was surprisingly heartwarming, and with the exception of Astolfo, we'll talk about him, it was surprisingly heartwarming, and Chloe and Jean-Jacques had a happy ending, and I was like, is this series going to make me pay for this? Am I gonna suffer consequences because of this? I don't know what to think. I'm like, ooh. So, I don't know. I get the vibe that the blue mark is maybe like a ticking time bomb. I don't know, but the Blue Moon Vampire says that all people seek some sort of company, and that's warmth. And you just seek someone that makes you feel that. And the show is such a damn tease, right? It's such a damn tease because, you know, you think as he's reminiscing about the Blue Moon Vampire saying that he's thinking of Jean's smile, and that he's feeling this moment of, oh my gosh, maybe I do care about her, maybe I do love her, and maybe she's the one that can comfort me, right? But then his words come back to him where she's like, remember, you said if I didn't act like myself, you were going to kill me. And it's like, is this herself? It's like, ah. But then the show is such a damn tease because right as he says that, you think it's John, but then Noé shows up too, and you're like, this show doesn't want to commit to a ship. It wants to just be a big old damn tease and try to have everybody have their cake and eat it too, because you can tie it to Noé, you can tie it to Jean. I'm a multi-shipper usually. I usually don't commit to just one ship and that's it, or one pairing with one character. I can multi-ship. I'm very capable. So if you tell me that I can ship Jean and Vanitas as well as Noé and Vanitas, I'm all about it. Right? And I think that's what I'm going to end up doing because I really liked Jean and Vanitas in this episode. I was like, oh, yes. Yes, indeed. It's not the moment in the cabin that gets me with their ship because that sort of thing, I'm like, whatever. Usually that stuff's like a red herring anyway, but it's just the moment of her smile to him and that he helped her and they both reached this common ground. She was able to be herself. And I feel like when she's like, if I'm ever not myself, you have to kill me. And it's in that moment, it's the idea of if I'm not true. I love the idea that Jean, in her smile to him, says that if I'm not true, then kill me. But what she's also saying is you helped me realize who I really am, and you helped show my true self, so you're not going to have to kill me. And the kiss on the cheek, I thought it was on the blood part, but it was not. So I was like, ah! I was like, she got so excited she had to suck some blood off of him, and he's like, whoa, not, you can't just do this anywhere. I like that Vanitas gets blushy and like kind of embarrassed, being like, oh, we can't do this. Like the shoes on the other foot. She trolls him. I love it. I'm like, yes. And that's what I've been waiting for this entire series is it started out as an inconvenience and like a trolling relationship that was like a joke. And neither of them were taking it seriously. And over the course of them coming together and realizing that they both thought they had two different goals, but it ended up being the same goal, they come together, develop that relationship, and it's so freaking sweet. And again, it doesn't have to be romantic. It doesn't have to be sexual. If you're an ace person, you're like, and you see Vanitas, Noé, and Jean as like this queer platonic gathering, yeah, that's totally fine. I'm here for it. I'm here for all of it. I just want Noé and Jean and Vanitas to be safe and happy by the end of this series, and I don't think I'm going to get my wish. So I'm like, I think my wish is not going to get granted. So I'm like, ooh, that's again why I'm really wanting to read the manga now, because I'm like, it seems like it's one of those situations where the manga is going to end it at some point to end it, and I'm not going to be satisfied, and then everybody's going to be like, well, if you read the manga, and I'll be like, oh, damn it. This is going to be Yona of the Dawn all over again, isn't it? It is, isn't it? It's going to be Yona of the Dawn where the anime ends at this one point, and everybody's like, well, if you keep reading the manga, it's a lot better, and y'all are going to sucker me in. I know how this is going to work. I had committed, I was going to be like, I'm not going to look at the manga, and now I'm like, I really want to look at the manga. So let's talk about this episode. Let's go through this episode and see if there's any nuggets to attain. I was very upset with Crunchyroll. The last couple of episodes of series I've watched, Crunchyroll has been abysmally slow. It's been pissing me off, and it stopped. It stopped right at the kiss. I had to like edit, and it stopped right at the kiss and said something went wrong. I was like, are you freaking kidding me? I was like, ugh. So I don't know what the high traffic is, if there's just high traffic for some reason, but whatever. I love Jean-Jacques. Jean-Jacques is maybe my favorite side character, aside from Roland. Jean-Jacques is like maybe my favorite side character. I love him. I love his unapologetic love for Chloe, and that the world isn't right without her. I love that. I think it's beautiful. I love that he wants to spend the rest of his days with her. I just, it's romance to the extreme. That's what I love about this series is obviously we still have 5 more episodes to go in an entire manga series. I highly doubt that this series is going to give us a definitive ship between Noé, Vanitas, and Jean. It's going to be this big old love triangle for the rest of the series, I'm sure, because that's part of the fun, right? But I feel like if it wants to get romantic, it can, and they use Chloe and Jean-Jacques to be like, okay, you guys want romance? Here's your romance. And I'm like, yes, please, thank you. Just so good. I love it so much. I'm like, yes, please, of course. It's just so sweet. I love that she cries too. What I also love about this scene is, okay, so Vanitas is trying to use the book, right? The book to figure out what's up with Chloe. And that's when he's like looking for the Malnaman, and he has like his hand out. And then that's when the Blue Moon Vampire says the Malnaman, Millie, Theater of Ice and Snow. So we don't know what happened to Nania. Nania pieced out. We don't know where is Nania, aka, so Nania, we have no idea. Nania's MIA. We still have Ruthven to deal with. He's a problem. Machina, they're still a thing. The Shapeless One. That's why I'm very much like, okay, I need to read the manga, because there is no way in 5 episodes, unless things just get absolutely insane, there's no way in 5 episodes we're going to be dealing, and then the brother. We have the brother too. Yep. There's no way we're dealing with the Shapeless One, his backstory, the brother, Ruthven, Machina. We're not, non-Nania. We can't deal with all of those things in 5 episodes, along with the Blue Moon Vampire and number 71. We just can't do it. There's not enough time. There's not enough time. And we still have Ruthven, the vow with Noé. We haven't even touched base on that. There's so much to deal with. And there's no way in 5 episodes we have more than 5 things to focus on. So yeah, I'm gonna have to read the damn manga. I'm gonna have to read the manga, aren't I? Yeah, I'm gonna have to read the damn manga. Okay. Well, I'll do some asking on Patreon, on the Discord, about like what exactly to do as far as the manga goes, because it's ongoing right now and it's just picked up out of hiatus, so that's fun. But yeah, yes, So we still have 5 episodes and a lot of ground to cover. And I'm like, well, what do we do with that? So yes. Now, with that being said, Malnaman, Millie is the theater of ice and snow. So the thing that is associated with Chloe is Millie. What a fun little Malnaman name. But the power that it has is terrifying, right? The power that it has is absolutely terrifying. The idea that it's this chalice, right? And the person's running in a loop. I like that the chalice has the interior where it just looks like her running in circles. Like she just keeps on in this little world over and over again, kind of like a bird cage. And there's the beast there on the outside. It's like a storybook. Those afflicted by this malady are trapped in a closed world, a frozen prison of their own memories. And then I like that we go through the forest, the endlessly repeating performance that plays out there slowly but surely destroys their soul, which is absolutely terrifying. It's so intractable that you cannot treat it simply by performing an inverse operation. So that's the kicker, right? It's not just something you can open up the book and cure. There has to be an extra step involved, which is, I love that it thematically ties back to the idea of Chloe having her own agency. I love that. I love that narratively is what it does. It's so good. Because the Bloomin' Vampire says that unless the cursed vamp bearer themselves rejects the frozen world, they will remain bound and fast there until it vanishes, erasing them from existence. So you basically, you either stay in this imaginary world until you die, or you reject it and go back to reality. And that's so cool with Chloe's character, because Chloe, throughout the story, she's lived without agency her whole life, just living for other people. And in this moment, Vanitas tells her, hey, it's going to be hell to stay here and evaporate into oblivion, but it's going to be hell to go back to reality and have to face the facts of what will entail when you return. What do you want to do? He's like, it's going to be hell either way, so what's your choice? And the idea that someone gives her a choice, because her father told her to keep her vampireness a secret. Then society rejected her. She's had no say in her entire existence. She's just been following what she thinks she should do, but it's not maybe really what she wants to do. So, she says, it was all a lie. She's like, I didn't really want to do this, but I just lied to myself this whole time. And he says, it's your choice. And I like that Vanitas points out, he's like, the church is not going to admit to the past. He's like, they're not going to own up to this. They're going to blame you and probably still hunt you forever. So do you want to go into oblivion now, or do you want to chance it and go back? And I feel like if Jean-Jacques hadn't been there, she probably would have gone into oblivion. But Jean-Jacques, just being MVP clutch, she wants to keep living. And she's like, she's like, what have I done? I love the concept of the bird cage. The concept of the bird cage is great. And then I love the idea of Jeanne realizing that she wants to save Chloe alongside Vanitas. So good. It's so good. And then we have our OP. Yeah, I'm going to have to read the manga. Y'all have convinced me, or the episodes have convinced me. So then we cut to right before Vanitas and Noé go to fight Astolfo. They tell Roland, they're like, hey, we may hurt one of your brethren. Hope that's okay. He's kind of a problem right now. Roland is, again, Jean-Jacques is one of my favorite characters, but I freaking love Roland. He's great. And Roland has a connection with Astolfo, which is really neat. And that's the idea that Astolfo was saved by Roland. What I love about Roland's character is you have Roland and Astolfo. We obviously don't know Roland's backstory to know exactly how he ended up in the Chausseurs, what the whole deal is. But what I love is that you have Astolfo, who was so traumatized by what happened in his past that he can't see past it. And he just keeps on spinning the same wheel over and over again. Like, he keeps on saying, I have to destroy the vampires no matter what, and I have to kill them. That's just how things are. And that's the only way he feels like he'll have closure, even though we as the audience know it's probably not going to give him closure. And then Roland, on the other hand, what I love about Roland's character and why he's probably my favorite side character is that he is very willing to adapt and change and realize that he doesn't believe one thing anymore. Now he believes this. And I love that about his characters. Normally in a book or in a narrative, the characters don't change their opinions. That's part of their character. It's part of their archetype. They are stuck in this, form, and they don't go past it. And Roland's so flexible that he's just changing as he's learning, and it makes him such a three-dimensional character. I love that about Roland. And he kind of gives them the backstory. I like that he tells Noé, being like, oh, hey, I didn't want to bring it up, but you need to know this about Astolfo. This is his family was slain by vampires. That's why he's so prejudiced against them. He's like, you need to know. That young lad was far too kind. So we now know what the blue stone is. It's some kind of astromite, but it like separates the blade and makes it into like a shocker that like shocks Noé. And then he ends up getting his hand cut off, which I'm glad Dante found it. So maybe they can, make it come back. And then I'm assuming they'll just attach it and it'll just regrow maybe. I don't know how the physics work with vampires in this show. And then we have the one guy who says he injected far too much. So I like they've been setting up the last couple episodes that fact that he's injected too much drug into his system, and now we see the catch up. Now we see the impact of it. Man, Murase though, Ayamu Murase, who plays Hanato Shoyo in Haikyuu and is playing Astolfo here, he really does a good job with his role. I'm not used to him playing like a dynamic, action-oriented, deeper voiced character, so it's really cool. I like him as it. And then Noé wonders if he should back away. He wonders if he should hesitate, if he should back up, should I fall back? And then Vanitas says, no, do not consider whether Astolfo's hatred is justified. So Vanitas gives this speech, right? Vanitas gives this speech to Noé, which we should note. And the idea of the speech is to not consider if hatred is justified. He's like, the moment that you start to, have possible pity or sympathy in this moment, you're going to die. And what he says instead is that humans and vampires alike act according to their own sense of what's right. One man's justice can be another man's evil. He's like, we do right by ourselves, but it doesn't equal the same for all. He's like, everybody's following their own path and what they consider to be the right course of action. And he's like, something that you think is right, Astolfo may think is absolutely wrong. And so you can't really judge someone based upon that. And I love that he tells Noé all this. And Roland's just kind of like side-eyeing, being like, where are you going with this? And he says, in your case, right makes might. What I like about this is that idea of right makes might. I love that twist, right? Because normally what people say is might makes right. Like strength equals justice. But here, Vanitas is saying that for Noé, justice is his strength. His sense of justice, his passion, his compassion for others, that sense of righteousness that he has is what makes him strong. It's not the reversal, right? The strength doesn't make him righteous. The righteousness makes him strong. And so Vanitas is like, look, in your case, this is what you believe. And that's fine. But, he says, but might can easily turn a violence more vexing than malice. So he's like, you have to be careful because that might can instantly become malice if you don't control it. If you don't control your anger, that strength will become a weapon that is a problem. And that's what we don't want. And so I love that he touches his heart. He's like, don't wield it in anger. Keep it deep inside. Let that sense of justice be a shining light. So yes, he says, control your anger and use it as a shining light. Don't act abrasive and do things without thinking about it. Like Vanitas gives Noé this huge speech. It's really, really well done. Right? It's really well done. And we see the ocean there. There's a shot of the ocean and the blue waters. And I'm like, why are we going back to this? What is this? We see a beach at the end of the ED. Is this going to be tied to it? Is the episode going to tie to the beach eventually? I don't know. Why does he go back and see that in his vision? And Noé's like, okay. And I love that Vanitas just looking at him like, Do you get what I'm saying? Is any of this making sense? I just gave you this amazing monologue and you're doing nothing with it. I love how annoyed he is, and he grabs him by the hair and he's like, that means don't overthink it. Act according to where you draw the line, not what you feel is right. So what he's saying is your actions should be based on your principles, but your emotions should not impact those principles. He's like, act on what you believe is right, but don't try changing or second guessing yourself. It's not going to work out that way. I love it. And then I love Roland's just like, and I feel like that's exactly how Roland lives. Roland doesn't let his emotions sway him in the moment. He has his principles and he thinks them through and decides what the best course of action is. But he doesn't let emotion or something in the moment sway him. And I think Roland's like, all right, I can get behind that. I love that. And he's like, you two will probably be able to handle it. And he's like, that will serve you well at the very least. I just love how like messy his hair looks. Like Vanitas' hair is so messy in that moment. There's a part of me that like, we know that Noé and Jean both have inadvertently been kind of like drawn towards Vanitas from the start, right? And Vanitas has rejected them both. He rejected Noé because I think Noé makes him uncomfortable because he knows that it's been a genuine infatuation from the start, and he's like, oh no. And with Jean is slowly warmed up to him, and he's slowly kind of warmed up alongside with her. So now I'm like, okay, well then is he going to start warming up to Noé? What do we do with this? How do we handle this, right? What do we do? And then that's when Noé decides that I'm not going to retreat no matter what. And he just lets his arm get chopped off. And then that punch, I'll never give up. Again, I feel like Jean and Noé both have similar like cuts and bruises on them. They both are like, Vanitas encourages both of them to not give up on themselves or their ideals. And they're both blonde, like white blonde hair. I just want to ship them as an OT3. Please let me show. I love how Noé looks so strong in that moment. And then he knocks him out. And so then we go back to Chloe, who's sad because she feels like her life was a lie and she was always lonely. If I was not human, it meant I wasn't truly me. Like she ties to her existence based on what she's become. And Vanitas like, I can't find what to do. She's like, I wanted to be accepted as a daughter to her father, as a member of my family, as I truly am. She's like, I had a identity as the daughter of the Dapshire family, as my father's daughter. I had an identity, and once that was gone, I kind of lost myself, and I didn't know what to do. And then she's wondering, well, what do I do now? And that's that whole, God, the imagery of Jean and Jean-Jacques, the Triple J threat, coming in there and pulling her out of the birdcage is so good. And the birdcage has like, the top of it has like, it looks like a red crescent moon. So I'm like, the red moon vampire, the blue moon vampire. What I love about it is that she wants to break free, and Jean and Jean-Jacques help her do that. And he's like, you have to choose, and she chooses to be with him. And when they all land in the flowers, okay, well, before we get to that, he asks Luna, he says, Luna, give me strength. And Noé shows up being like, what are we doing? Because that's what he asked too. He says, Luna, lend me your strength. Now, what is Luna? Luna, I'm assuming, is not the Blue Moon Vampire. Is it the book? Is it the gem inside the book? Is it the mark on him? What is Luna? We don't know. But Noé's like, well, what is ended up happening? I love the shot of them in the flowers, though. When they both land in the flowers, it's so cute. And then the formula lighting up the sky like constellations, and Noé being like, it's gorgeous. Like, I love the animation for this scene. It's absolutely beautiful. And then, so Chloe's name is Canoris, she who makes music with snowflowers. The episode being called Snowflowers, so her actual name is Canoris. She who makes music with snowflowers. And the snowflower seems like it refers back to the white flowers that are kind of like light blue left behind by when the formula is changed. So that gets confirmed in this episode. Somebody was hinting at it earlier on, and I was like, is this a spoiler? And then it kind of was, because it's referenced here, but it was too late then, so it's not like a huge spoiler. My thing is, why does Vanitas' face, it looks like he has really thick laugh lines. Like, his face gets really wrinkled for a second. It looks like he has laugh lines. What's up with that? It looks like something's crawling up his face, right? What is that? What is that, folks? I don't know if I want to know this. And then the world breaks apart, and it's so pretty. Like, it's just beautiful. The flower petals. It's no longer cold. I love that Roland's like, well done, you two. You did it. Look at you. It's really cute. And then, yeah, all the flowers and the three of them together. And, of course, thank goodness Dante found his hand. Found Noé's hand. Oh, Noé, of course. Noé, I love that he's just like, I'm in a lot of pain. And I'm like, you had your arm chopped off. And he's like, it really hurts. But he doesn't act like it hurts at all. I'm like, how dare you, sir? What is this? What can we do? And then Astolfo. The thing about Astolfo is that he wants to kill Noé, and Roland's like, no. Like, Roland's stepping in, and we find out that the one that killed the vampire and saved Astolfo was Roland. It's interesting, right? And I think that that's what kills Astolfo the most, is the man that saved him has now changed his mind and is okay with helping these vampires because he knows them, and it makes Astolfo question everything he thought he knew about the situation. And it's like, it's so sad, right? So sad. But yeah, and then the part where he's just sitting there like reenacting the moment where Roland saved him with his sister, it's like, what do we do? What do we do? But yeah, God, that whole scene where he's just sitting there with the blood around him, I'm like, what the hell? And then he just collapses into Roland's. I love the way that they framed him collapsing into Roland. It's really well done. And Noé looks really good, too, in that moment. Poor Jean-Jacques. I love that Jean-Jacques, she's like, I hate you, Jean-Jacques. And he's like, but I wanted her to say I love you so badly, but we all know they're going to get together. I'm like, of course, we know that. I love Jean-Jacques and Chloe so much as a couple. It's really, really cute. And I love their little banter. It's so sweet. I love that Jean is just sitting there like, I don't know what to do. Like, do I get in the middle of this? Do you guys actually like each other? Are we okay? You utter fool. And so then I like the idea that she wants to live, and just Jean-Jacques with his forehead pressed against hers, and he's like, you won't have to bleed for anyone else anymore. Like, you don't need anything more than being there for me. And I'm like, so good. So freaking good. I want to read all the fan fiction with them now. I want Chloe and Jean-Jacques fan fiction. I want to read it. I'll probably have to wait till I'm done with the manga, but I want to read it now. I want to read it so bad. And then Vanitas is sitting there with the blood, like looking up, grasping at the moon. He's been doing that a lot. He's been holding his hand up, and it's the hand that has it's the hand with the mark on it. It is spreading. Yeah, it's not just the one mark anymore. It's like all over his arm. Does not give me good vibes. It doesn't feel good, because he said it's spread quite a bit. I don't like where this is headed. Nope. And that's when he sits up, and he says it's cold, and that's when Jean thanks him. Thank you, Vanitas. Chloe survived. You really saved her. And he's like, oh, well, it's a little early for victory lap. She's still got a lot of things to take care of. We don't know what Ruthven's up to. We don't know where all this stuff is headed. So, we can't say it's a happy ending yet. And I'm like, come on, show. Like, she'll probably be punished. And John's like, I'm still truly happy. And he's like, my bad. And she's like, thanks to you. My thing was, has Jean always been shorter than Vanitas? I guess she has. For some reason, I thought she was taller than him. I don't know. I always thought she was the same height as him, but he's taller than her there. Maybe I've been wrong. She's like, you were there for me. No, I guess he has always been taller. It just seems weird. To me, she seems like a tall girl, so it's always kind of baffled me. And he just looks at her, and she's like, you were there for me, and you helped me. And then she kind of gets overcome in the moment. But this time it's not the curse. Her eyes aren't red. Her eyes aren't red. It's not the curse that makes her drink the blood. It's her heart. And she gets so worked up. And because you see her eyes are still golden. And they make a point to show that she's not being influenced by a curse. She's influenced by love. Unless you think love is a curse. And then maybe. But yeah, she jumps on him and bites him. And he's like, hey, I've been bleeding. I don't have a lot of supply left. And he's like, what's gotten into you? And he's like, you can't just do this. You know, we need to not just do this in public, you know. And then her kissing him. Because he's like, why'd you do that for? He's like, I offered my blood to you. But there's a time and place for everything. And that's when she catches her breath and she kisses him. Like on his cheek, it's super cute. It's just like a little kiss. Like now that she's calmed down. And don't think I don't know the bisexual flowers everywhere. There's like the pink tint of the lights. You did not have to have the purple and pink tint with the blue if you weren't trying to make a statement show. You didn't have to do that. You didn't have to. But you did. And then I love it. I love how glossy her lips are. When she like stops kissing him. Yeah. And she's still blushing. She's like, remember your promise. If I ever stop being myself, that you'll slay me. Oh, I love that. And I love that she just looks over at him and there's the blue of the gemstone, everything. And when she takes her hand off of his heart, she starts to run away and he calls after her, being like, Jean. And the thing is, when she's running back, he sees her as a kid for a hot second. Like she's herself again. Like, I don't think Vanitas knew her as a kid. I don't think that's the case. But I think it's a visual representation that Jeanne is back to herself, right? That Jeanne is herself again. That her wish of saving Chloe was granted. And that Vanitas did that, right? And maybe she won't be affected by the curse. If that's even a thing. Maybe Ruthven's voodoo won't affect her anymore. But I like the idea that she's back to herself. And she's like, back when I wasn't being myself, you had every right to want to kill me. But now you're not going to have to because I'm okay. And her just smiling. And Vanitas being like, oh. Like seeing her genuine smile. Uh-huh. So then Vanitas like sees her smile. And it's like the love at first sight thing. Like he truly sees how she actually is on the inside. And it cuts to the Blue Moon Vampire telling him, saying that you're going to be lonely. It doesn't matter if you're a human or a vampire. We see the number 71 like just playing in the background there, not doing anything, just jumping around with the scarf bows. You can never completely understand someone. Which, a lot of this speech, Vanitas has told Noé before. Like, he's told Noé the same thing, right? He said, you can't fully understand someone. Most people live and die without even understanding themselves. So, nevertheless, it's for that very reason that people seek each other out to share the warmth of an emotional bond. Now, this part here, where the Blue Moon Vampire grabs a hold of Noé, or of Vanitas, and Vanitas has this big bag. I don't know what the big bag is for, but I'm sure we'll find out. And it says, someday when I no longer walk this earth, may you find someone to snuggle up with you just as we are now. There's a creepy implication with that. One, that the Blue Moon Vampire has been snuggling up to Vanitas, and maybe Vanitas didn't like that, but they did it anyway because they were like, you're going to let me. But also there's the idea of the Blue Moon Vampire being gone. Is the Blue Moon Vampire dead? Did Vanitas kill them? Did number 71 kill them? Like, what's the deal? But the Blue Moon Vampire is saying that when I'm gone, you need to find someone to snuggle up with and be warm with, so that you're not lonely. I'm sure there will be such a person that as long as you not close your heart. And that's what Vanitas has done this whole time. They've closed their heart. So I'm like, why? If the Blue Moon Vampire is telling you all this, why did you close your heart? Why did you do the opposite of what they told you? And the funny thing is, as this is happening in the show, you know, Vanitas is touching his cheek where she kissed him. So he's obviously having this moment of being like, oh, maybe she's the one, like the Blue Moon Vampire has been telling me, that she could keep me warm and like be the person that could warm my heart.
But then, and so you see him like done in the same style, but then literally the most bisexual colors, as he's saying this, Noé shows up. And I'm like, show, you wouldn't have this if not for a reason, right? Because then Noé shows up. Open your heart and you'll never be lonely even when you are alone. Just as both of you are here for me. So we have the little brother 71 jumping up to hug them both. And we have Vanitas with the Blue Moon Vampire and the bag. I like the parallel of the Blue Moon Vampire with number 71 and Vanitas, which parallels Vanitas with Noé and Jeanne. So there's that parallel between the three of them. What do we do with that, right? Because it seems to me like Noé is like number 71 in this case, where they're just bouncing around like interested in everything. And Vanitas is like the Blue Moon Vampire that wants, you know, just to give the forewarning, all the lessons, like what he did with Noé. And then Jeanne would be like Vanitas. So I still have so many questions. And then Noé shows up. I like that Vanitas does not question that Noé doesn't have his hand, but he's sitting there crying. Oh. The whole part where he just starts crying in that moment. And Noé's like, are you okay? And he's like, what's going on? You always complained about the cold, but I know one day you'll meet someone who will keep you warm. Mm-hmm. And that's the thing. I think Vanitas is upset because he's realizing that he may like Jeanne, and that Jeanne is the person that the Blue Moon Vampire told him would come along. And Vanitas has said this entire time, he's like, if she likes me, I don't want her near me. But now he's realizing that maybe she'll be good for him. And he's like, what do I do? And it's like all crashing around him. Still so many unanswered questions, though. I'm so curious, right? And then the alteration engine is still there. It's not been destroyed. And that's when he decides to, like, take give the name back to Jean-Jacques. I love Jean-Jacques. Like, I don't need to be the beast. I'll protect her myself. And I'm like, oh, love it. He's basically Ken from Barbie movie. He's like, I'm Knuff. Jean-Jacques is Knuff. I myself must be enough. I'm like, yes, you go, Jean-Jacques. And then Mur is just there. I love that Mur made it out. It's great. And so then Vanitas uses the book. And then he says, your name suits you well. Aprix. He who nestles up to the last snows. Oh, it's so cute. Like Jean-Jacques is to Chloe exactly what the Blue Moon Vampire said that Jeanne might be for Vanitas. And so the beast was freed from their curse. Some were saved, some were not. And Roland and Olivier are leaving with the Chausseurs with Astolfo. And then what is this? That's it. So Dante and Johann got what they were looking for. That's it. Okay. So whatever they were looking for from the alteration engine, they managed to snag it to give to Machina. I don't like where this is headed. I'm like, why are you guys not watching out for them? Why? And then we see the cat, but the scars will remain on each of us. So what do we do with that? I'm like, I like Mur's so like strong there. It's like, is Mur the narrator of the story? It'd be funny if Mur was the narrator. That'd be hilarious. Oh man. So I really love this episode. These last two episodes have been great. Like I've been needing some romance in my life right now because the stories I've been watching have not been very romantic. So these two episodes were exactly what the doctor ordered. But now we have a lot of mystery left. We still don't know virtually anything about the Blue Moon Vampire. That's still a mystery. Number 71's a mystery. I feel like I'm going to make predictions at this point in the story. I feel like we're either going to... I mean, the show can go three ways. We either need to clear up the deal with Nania. I feel like Nania is tied with Ruthven, so we could kill two birds with one stone. Or we're going to go the brother route with the Blue Moon Vampire and Nania and Ruthven, and then we'll just be saved until another day, like in the manga. Maybe, but... Alright, y'all convinced me. I guess I'll ship Vanitas and Jeanne. As well as Noé and Vanitas, so I can ship them both. You can't stop me. So, in the meantime, I hope y'all enjoyed this reaction discussion. I'm curious to know your thoughts down below, but I hope y'all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe, take care, and yeah, I'll be back very soon with more of the case study of Vanitas.